And I'm live. Just like that. It says I'm live. All right, well, this is be one of those incredibly interesting videos where I'm literally just testing things and trying to understand where stuff is and how to hit things and how to hit buttons and see what's working and see what isn't working. And I'll be staring at my screen while I try and access other things to see if I can actually let people know that this is going on, see if I can put this all together. But the intention of this video is to see if I can make a viable connection here, so that I can post the masses for St. Paul the Apostle here in Sandwich, Illinois, the Triduum events, the upcoming masses. My genuine intention is to try and see if I can make this as accessible as possible, and that's really my whole goal here is to try and make this as accessible as possible. So I'm just going to be pushing buttons and trying to do things to see if any of this stuff actually works, to see if I can find anyone who can actually do any of these things, if I can figure out what's going on there, and see if that actually works. So I'm currently just trying to see if I can even, if you're seeing this, just post something in the live chat maybe. That way I can get an idea if people actually can see this, and make sure that my computer isn't trying to crash everything. I know that my computer's trying to run all kinds of background updates. I have no idea if that actually is helping anything or not. Probably not helping anything at the moment. But I'm just trying to get that going. Page is called St. Paul the Apostle. Probably should have been more specific, St. Paul Sandwich or something like that. But I'm just trying to figure this out. Put stuff out there like that. Back. Okay. Verifying your opportunity there. So we're up on a live stream here, and we're trying to see. Hey, look, it says there's two people, which means I'm not the only one anymore. All right, so that's exciting. I'm going to be using my phone to actually let people know I'm here as well, and see if I can make those connections. Let's see here. I'm sending a text. I'm on YouTube live right now. Let's see if this works. Okay, got that up and going. That's tomorrow's mass. Let's try that like that. And we're up there, and we're doing that, and we got that. Here's the worker, travel there for that. Okay, very good, very good, very good, very good, very good, very good, very good. All right, that's that. What do you do for a live stream test? Well, for a live stream test, to see if you can get people to actually tune in here, I suppose I'd actually have to say something worthwhile. I'm 4 minutes in, I haven't said anything interesting. I talk so much for a living. I kind of cringe at the thought that I have to just sit here and talk, which is hilarious to me. More of an introvert, so it was never my intention to actually even get this up and running in this regard. I'm just trying to see if I can make this work so that I can be accessible. It's really my focus is about accessibility, and really trying to build this up as best I can to try and make faith accessible to everyone who's out here. It's difficult. We're in quarantine, and we in the church are really trying to do our part. We're trying to keep everyone safe. We absolutely want to keep everyone safe. And so we quarantine. I mean, that's the best thing for it. If we're going to say something, I mean, while I stare at buttons and try and click on connections and throw out the links to people, I guess the only thing that I would start with, or the major thing that I would start with, is I think, uh, well, I had a dream. Maybe this isn't the place for it. Maybe it is. I don't really know. I had a dream, um, literally, not like Martin Luther had a dream where he dreamed a dream, but actually, I went to sleep one night and I woke up in a rush, and I rushed out the door in my dream. I woke up in a rush and I rushed out the door. And as soon as I went through the door, I found myself in a sacristy. Now, a sacristy is um, the place where the priest prepares for mass. It's usually where we store the sacred vessels, anything that we need to celebrate the mass, vestments, all of those things. I was in the sacristy, but I was in a sacristy that was it was like a lot of sacristies that I've been in, and yet it wasn't exactly like it was a hybrid convergence of many sacristies that I've been in all at once, all kind of rammed together. And so it bore parts of it resembled the sacristy at St. Bridget's in Loves Park, which I've spent many hours in, and part of it was like the sacristy in my grad school, my theology school, St. Mary Lake Seminary, Mundelein, Illinois. And other parts were like other sacristies that I've been in, and it had little pieces of like every sacristy I've ever been a priest in, and most of the sacristies that I've been a parishioner or an altar boy serving in. And it was wild because it was sacristies by and large are not usually terribly big spaces. I mean, the sacristy at school at Mundelein and the sacristy at St. Bridget's in Loves Park are larger sacristies. I mean, they really are. They're comparatively they're large sacristies in that regard. And I've seen big ones, but by and large they're not terribly big spaces. And it felt a lot smaller in my dream because um, it was every priest I had ever served for, or served under, or served with was in this sacristy. And they were all in red vestments specifically, which we wear for Palm Sunday and for Pentecost and for Martyrs' feast days, but not a lot of other days. But on those days we wear red. We also wear red for confirmation mass celebrations, and it was very chaotic in my dream. And chaos in the sacristy is actually nothing new. I was a sacristan at Mundelein for a number of years, and so it was actually nothing new to be in chaos and having everyone kind of talking over each other and trying to figure out what they were doing. What threw me off more and more is that as I got in, there were several priests who kept saying, "You're late. You need to hurry up. You're behind." Um, and so there were pieces ready to go out to be set out for preparation for mass. So the chalice wasn't out yet. The cruets, the water and the wine, they weren't out yet. All of these pieces were still waiting to go out, and yet there are all these people, all these priests, and they're all priests standing around discussing various things. And while there's this great urgency that we're running behind, none of them seem to be so motivated as to get anything out at that particular moment. We all knew that it needed to happen, but none of us did anything at that moment. And I remember grabbing the cruets, thinking to myself that if there's that many priests, then it's probably a big event. I'm not even. It's my dream, and I have no idea what what mass we're about to celebrate. And I remember I put my alb on, but I hadn't put on anything else yet. No stole, no chasuble. Um, and I grabbed the cruets, and I thought to myself, if there's this many priests, it must be a big event. So I left the sacristy. I went out a door that I guess assumed I would go out into the church. Um, and my intention was to take it to the back of the church so that it could be brought up for a procession in. And when I stepped out, I didn't step out into the back of the church. I stepped out into sanctuary space, which is common. Most sacristies are connected to their sanctuary space. It's very common place to put them. And the thing that threw me off was at the moment I stepped out, Mass was already underway. There was a lector uh, proclaiming a reading, and the servers were all seated there, but there was no celebrant. And the people, it was a massive church in the dream. It was this enormous church. And I've been to Rome just once, and I was younger. I was 14, and I've been in St. Paul outside the walls Basilica. I've been in St. Peter's Basilica. I've been in St. Mary Major. I've seen some very large churches, and this was absolutely a large, large church. And looking out into the pews, there was nobody up front. Um, at least 10 empty rows up front, and the people in the first few rows of the people were actually in, which was already a few rows back. They were starting to stand up and leave, and I remember just seeing just people massing in the back. They were leaving like mass had just been proclaimed over. I mean, just this huge surge for the door, and I saw people of every demographic, every shape and size and demographic, and I remember in that moment thinking to myself, that this shouldn't be, that the mass is only partially in, that we're not actually at the point where we should be leaving, but genuinely we should be the point where we're most engaged. And I'm holding these cruets in my hand, and I'm holding the water and the wine that will be consecrated in Jesus' body and blood. And it's frustrating to me because I don't want the people to leave, because I don't want them denied something. They haven't received Eucharist, and I want them to have it. And so I I remember just setting down the water and the wine, and the lector finished whatever reading they were doing, and so they sat down, and I went over to the microphone, and I remember making this plea to try and tell people that now is not the time to leave. Now is the time to hold on. Now is the time to be patient, because there is something more, something greater that's coming. Um, and in my dreams, some people look up. They pause to hear my words. Um, but most of them don't. Most of them just keep walking out. And I remember looking over my shoulder at that moment, just looking back to the doors of the sacristy, where I know there are all those priests in that room who can help, who will help, who want to help. Um, but there were no bishops in the sacristy. I served for a lot of bishops. There were no bishops in the sacristy. And I remember headed for the door, back into the sacristy, to grab the chalice, to try and get things out, to try and get things going, so that it's possible to offer the holy sacrifice of the Mass. And and as soon as I get to the door, a lot of the priests are coming out, and they're taking their positions in this great big sanctuary. I mean, the church is large, and the sanctuary is large. Um, but the thing that was pressed upon me in this dream was there was this great urgency to give to the people the greatest mysteries they could possibly have. And yet, despite this pleading, despite this urging, despite this desire from all of us to do it, um, I can't make it happen on my own. The next thing I know, I'm turning and their servers bringing out the chalice, and now suddenly I'm supposed to be helping with the offertory, with the preparation of the gifts, and I'm not even vested for mass. I feel so out of place, and panic overwhelms me, and I all the priests have now filled into the sanctuary space, and I rush into the sacristy to try and quickly vest myself so that I too can be ready for this great need. And I just remember just rushing in and feeling so overwhelmed and so scared that I'm not prepared. I'm not well disposed. I'm not there. That the feeling overwhelms me, and I wake up at that moment. That's when I wake up, as I'm rushing back into the sacristy to try and put things back together that I have no control over, and and I wake up and a cold sweat every time, and and I don't know what my subconscious is trying to tell me, except that I guess I think I'm not ready for something, um, and I'm genuinely afraid that people are missing out on something truly great. I have this dream, different forms and different details. I've had this dream every year, every spring, for several years now, at least three years. And I don't know exactly what it means, um, but I definitely want people to know that the good part is still coming, that the best is yet to come, and that um, we absolutely do not have a reason to be afraid. But if we're patient, even if it seems boring, the greatest part still is yet to come. That God has a great plan for all of us, and that we truly do have an opportunity to see the better things yet to come. But in order to do that, we have to be patient. Maybe I'm not ready. I'm not exactly sure what I'm ready or not ready for, but I definitely know one thing that's certain to me, and that is God really is the best thing for us, that He has some great things in store for us. But if we don't give Him a chance, or if we don't want to wait to see them, we're only denying ourselves. That's that's that. I still haven't had anyone post a comment, so I don't know if that's actually working. I do have a counter in the corner though. It says some people actually saw that it's going on. I don't know if that actually means that if they are actively watching or just checking around. So could be any number of things. But yeah, we're going to try this format here and see if that actually works. And I will work on fleshing this out as best I can. And maybe we'll be able to use YouTube as a means to share the Triduum events that are coming. And thanks for checking. If you stop by, and I will see if we can make this a place for people to see the great mysteries that God has in store for us. Um, in the meantime, thanks for stopping by, and um, we'll see where this goes from here. Take care and God bless.